The moon, our nearest celestial neighbor, has intrigued and inspired us since the dawn of humanity. During the Apollo program, 12 astronauts landed on its cold and cratered surface, but they couldn't stay. Now, NASA's Constellation program begins a new journey to live and work on the moon, setting the stage for future long-duration human exploration. Today, 2 spacecraft scouts are poised to lift off together aboard a powerful Atlas V rocket on the first launch of this new era. They are the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter and the Lunar Crater Observation and Sensing Satellite, or LRO-LCROSS. One rocket, one destination, 2 critical missions. Together, they're helping us pave the way back to the moon. Welcome to the show. I'm your host, George Diller. I'm here at NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Florida, inside the Apollo Saturn V Center. Behind me is an actual massive 363-foot-long Saturn V rocket, just like those that boosted the Apollo astronauts on America's first human missions to the moon. Today, NASA is preparing to return to the moon, beginning with the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter and the Lunar Crater Observation and Sensing Satellite. This upcoming launch aboard an Atlas V rocket is the critical first step in the new Constellation program. On today's show, we're going to take you inside both of these exciting missions and find out what it takes to launch 2 spacecraft at once. Our first guest is Cathy Peddie, Deputy Project Manager for the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter. She stopped by the NASA Direct studio to give us the inside story on this moon mapping mission.
The Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter project, or LRO's main goal is, we're really the first mission, the first step that NASA's taking back to exploring our universe. And so what we really need to do is have a reconnaissance mission, get more data. One of the things that we want to do is go back to the moon. We've been there before. We have really awesome data sets from our previous missions from the Apollo era to the other spacecraft that have gone. So we want to build upon those data sets that we already have. And most of those data sets really focused on the equatorial region of the moon. So now we want to go back and say, hey, let's map the entire moon. So have more of a global perspective or a comprehensive atlas of the moon and help whoever wants to join us in exploring our universe or taking that next step back. They need to have a more comprehensive atlas of the moon so that they know where to go, what to do, what to expect, that kind of thing. Help them out. We're like a scout mission for the exploration. Well, roughly a couple of days after we launch, we will begin what we call the lunar orbit insertion burn, and that burn will help us, or help the moon and us, get captured by the moon. And so what happens during that burn is LRO starts to get closer to the moon, and the moon will capture LRO. And once we have that confirmation that the moon has captured us, we call that lunar acquisition. And then after we have lunar acquisition and we're sure that we have a stable orbit, then we will begin a series of burns that are roughly a day apart from each other, a series of 4 or 5 burns that begin to lower LRO into her final orbit, which is roughly 50 kilometers above the moon, or 31 miles. And that's LRO's polar orbiting orbit, where we lower the spacecraft low enough so that the instruments can focus on the surface of the moon and begin the data collection that is what our mission is all about, to create that comprehensive atlas of the moon. Now, an interesting offshoot of our data is that our data will also be made available to Google Moon, so that anyone that has access to the web or Google will be able to punch in I don't know, like Shackleton Crater, and be able to see all the cool data from LRO pop up right on their own personal computers at home. Well, at NASA, we're all about exploring and pushing our knowledge across the boundaries. And LRO, even though taking us back to the moon where we've been before, there's a lot about our moon that we don't know. and a lot about our moon that we want to use as we begin to look out into the universe and decide, you know, where we want to go next. So having a reconnaissance or a scout mission that begins to take us out is a perfect fit into what NASA's all about, and what people like me who've dreamed about working for NASA have always wanted to do. You know, explore, look out beyond who and what we are today, and LRO is the perfect fit for that type of vision for all of us.
Now that we know what to expect from the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter, we turn our attention to its sister payload, the Lunar Crater Observation and Sensing Satellite. Its goal is to hunt for evidence of water ice using a hard-hitting method. Dr. Kimberly Ennico, L-CROSS payload specialist, explains.
L-CROSS mission has two impact events. The first is the upper stage of the launch vehicle that we take with us on our 4-month mission into space, and we separate from it, and it's traveling to hit the moon at 5,600 miles per hour. It's going to impact one of these lunar permanently shadowed basins of a crater on the lunar poles. And it's going to hit a particular place. It's going to hit a place on the moon that we think there's water. Scientists who believe that there is water on the moon don't know whether it's smooth or chunky peanut butter type. So where you hit is important. The secondary impact is the L-CROSS payload, which will impact somewhere between 3 to 5 kilometers away from the first impact. So we're going to hit another part of that crater. We've targeted this crater because it's got a strong hydrogen concentration. We're going to sample 2 parts of this crater. And so the 2 impact events will tell us something about the distribution of this hydrogen concentration, or perhaps a distribution of water, if the hydrogen is in water. The live images of what we're taking with our science payload as we're going into the surface for the last 4 minutes of the mission, which is 600 kilometers down to the surface, will be streamed live on a public channel. L-CROSS is important because it provides us a way to confirm the presence or absence of water ice at a particular location on the lunar pole. If there's water ice there, or water in some form, it means that for future missions to the moon, and perhaps beyond, there's an in situ, a resource that's there, a resource that's on the surface of that planet. You don't need to bring it with you. So for the human species, in terms of exploring the rest of the solar system, so getting out of low Earth orbit, and we need water with us, if we can find a resource of water on the moon, that will be an amazing step forward and a great resource to take advantage of in a very resource-limited place.